Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servadidio.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back in here. The Bettor Sports Betting Show is live, 4 o'clock Eastern every day, coming at you, giving you guys some picks on all sports tonight, this weekend, anything in between. Howard Bender is with me, the RotoBuzz guy, as always, on Fridays. What's going on, Howard?
I'm teeming with riches as I took the Denver Nuggets last night, minus the 8.5 points. Yes.
That one
Thank
looked
you so
safe
much.
for a while. That wasn't really a sweat either.
It was not a sweat, which was really nice, right? I was pretty happy with that. So, I was like 1-2 on my baseball bets yesterday. So to be able to add in a little NBA action, just as tasty, just like you're gonna see for tomorrow with the NHL Stanley Cup Finals start tomorrow, and I don't know, man. I saw Jared Moore's little favoring those Florida Panthers, so I kind of got the juices flowing. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun series to talk about, and we have Chris Morais and Andrew Dewhirst, the Fantasy Alarm duo, NHL duo, coming on the show today. We're going to do a little roundtable between the four of us. I will honestly be leaning on them and you, Howard, for my picks because I'm not as dialed into the NHL circles right now, but I am listening to whatever picks guys like Andrew and Chris give me, so I'm going to be listening to them. But that's going to be awesome, coming up in about 10-15 minutes here, so stay tuned for that. We're going to have both of them on to preview this series, talk series prices, series odds, and then quickly get into game one for tomorrow. Again, that series starts tomorrow, so we'll be, you can see here the schedule here. Going to be interesting. Florida Panthers against Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, what are your quick lean? You have a quick lean on this? You mentioned Florida Panthers. Should we just ride this hot hand?
Well, you know what? I mean, listen, Jared Moore said, and you guys can check out the video short over at our YouTube page, the Bettor Sports Network YouTube page, and just look in the shorts right now. He's got, I guess it's Florida plus 108. He's got him for game one. Okay. To look at it, we'll talk to the boys about a more granular kind of look at game one, but I got for me, it's about the Vegas Golden Knights. I think that, listen, Bobrovsky has been standing on his head, an absolute champ.
Yeah.
But I mean, the dude hasn't played in how many games? Like somebody asked me about, was I worried when I made the bet on the Nuggets? They were like, well, are you worried about the layoff? And I was like, not for basketball, because they take like a week off in between games anyway. It's like, you're used to the layoff in there. But for hockey, it's a different story. And it's like, it's an every other day sort of a thing. And so to have this kind of a layoff for Bobrovsky, I think it kind of kills his momentum a little bit as that red hot goaltender. So while Panthers might win tonight, I'm going to lean towards taking the Golden Knights in this, for the entire series. Yeah. I think it can go, 6-7 games. So maybe I look at for the series bet, Vegas Golden Knights minus 1.5 games and just hope that it goes either 4-1 or 4-2.
Yeah, it's a tight series. Vegas is minus 125 on the money line for the whole series. Adam Bernard, our producer, saying that it'll be about 1.5 weeks since Bobrovsky was last on the ice with the Panthers there. So yeah, that could be a factor, and it's definitely different for hockey than basketball. I asked, we had Adam Rose on the show yesterday, and I asked him about that layoff possibly being an issue, or are you not worried at all? And he didn't seem he was worried at all. He said back the Nuggets in the first quarter and look at them for the first half. He thought it would be an advantage that they would have this time off to rest. We'll see if that's the case for the Panthers. We'll definitely ask Chris and Andrew about that coming up. So yeah, interesting game one tomorrow for the Stanley Cup Finals starting up. So we'll definitely dive into all that. Any props, any series bets you mentioned, possibly going with the series spread there. but we'll dive into it all. We got a full slate of baseball tonight, which is awesome. Last night, me and Grande had 3 games, I think, to dive into on the night slate there. I definitely threw out some picks that probably I wouldn't have usually thrown out, but whatever. Just to have some content out there. But we had some winners, we had some losers, and hopefully we get some more winners tonight. Let's get to our MLB best bets for tonight's slate. Full slate on Friday night here. I'll let you go first with your best bet.
This one here, I got to tell you, the full game money lines and run lines are a little bit, but this Oakland Miami series, it's fixing to be a total snooze fest, right? Because you're looking at hot trash in as far as lineups go. Florida's got some, the Miami Marlins have some great pitching, but they don't really have the bats to really back it as much as you would like to see. But I can't help it. You've got Shintaro Fujinami opening for the Oakland A's tonight. And this game starts at 6:40 Eastern. So Fujinami is the opener. And then I think they've got, Happy Hogan. He was like Iron Man's assistant. I think he's the guy who is going to be the long-term opener. This dude has like a 10.35 ERA in AAA. And he's a lefty, and the Marlins hit lefties beautifully. And so Fujinami might open. He still sucks at baseball. So I'm looking at the Marlins. Here you go. First 5-inning run line, minus a half a run. Minus 130 on DK Sportsbook. That was the best I could find it this morning. I was hoping to see better odds. It's a little juicy at minus 130, but a win is a win is a win.
I like that first 5 bet, and it's so weird. And I actually want to get your quick take on this because I see the money line for the first 5 is minus 190 for the Marlins, but the run line, as you mentioned, only just a half a run there on the run line, minus 130. That juice is so much less, and obviously it's because you want to bank on them winning and not being tied at the 5-inning mark. But why is that difference so much? And we always give out these run lines for the first 5 innings, because why would you ever bet the money line on a juice like that when it's minus 190? It's different if it's plus odds, but that minus 130 is really good compared to the minus 190 there.
Right. Well, again, because you can, there's a little bit of safety. If you take the money line bet, there's a little bit of safety involved that if it's tied, if it's 0-0, if it's 1-1, at least it's a push and you're not taking the loss. You bet the run line and you have to be winning. Now, there are some, listen, the majority of them are like a 0.5, run line, but, you'll see some, and I think I bet it. Oh, yeah, I did. I bet it last week. Washington Nationals, first 5 innings, it was plus 1.5 that they were getting. So I was like, all right, well, if they're gonna have to be leading by at least 2, I'll take the Nats, and I'll take, getting the plus 1.5. So like I said, I would have loved to have just done a straight money line bet saying that the Marlins are going to win, but there wasn't anything juicy on it at all. Look, I'm looking at BetMGM right now, and it's like even the run line is jumping up there. I see it at minus 140 over here on BetMGM. I'm sure it's raised up on Caesars as well.
Interesting. Yeah, so get that on DraftKings right now, minus 130. I like that. And by the way, if you want some more best bets for tonight's slate, go check out Josh Wagner's best bets article for tonight. He's got his picks out there, and you got to get the All Pro package at Fantasy Alarm to get that. Use Alarm50 as your promo code to get the first 50% off your first 6 months for the All Pro package. You get all of our DFS playbooks for all the sports, and you get some nice articles like this, best bets every day. Howard's usually on those articles, but we got Wags on there tonight, and tons of content that come in this summer for fantasy football stuff. Some free stuff there, but definitely some paid articles that you want to get in on. MLB fantasy baseball stuff for sure. So definitely get in on that All Pro package right now.
Oh man, it's gonna be huge. Not to mention the draft guide, fantasy football draft guide. The initial launch is going to be June 15th, so that's 2 weeks away, and you're going to want to get in on that. I've got. And I don't want to reveal it right now. But I had a meeting with the Bettor boss, I don't know, maybe a half an hour ago, whatever. Things are flowing, things are happening, things are going to be, you're going to want in. That's all I'm going to say. You're going to want in.
Yes, this is where the cool kids are, Matt Deutsch. Thank you for tuning in. And speaking of that, if you guys got any questions, comments, picks that you want to throw out there for tonight, for this weekend, whatever, we are happy to answer those questions and give you our opinions on picks, whether we like them or not. So definitely comment in, throw your comments in, and tweet at us too. We'll answer whatever you guys want. Again,
what's your best bet?
Yeah, I was going to say about 5 minutes, we got some hockey talk, so stay tuned for that. But my best bet is the Giants. Money line and first 5 innings. Again, that run line at minus a half a run there. But I like the money line. Minus 155 on DraftKings is right in my wheelhouse of like the range, the highest range that I want to go there. But the Giants here, they're facing Dean Kramer for the Orioles. Been up and down this year, but I think a negative regression candidate is coming, and for him. 6.46 expected ERA compared to his, decent 4.58 ERA. He's just been a guy that's been lucky at times, more often than not. And he's got a low strikeout rate, a high hard contact, and barrel rates. They're just worrisome for a pitcher like Kramer, who's not like a hard thrower by any means. Doesn't have great off-speed stuff. And then now he's got this matchup on the road in San Fran against a Giants offense that's, top 5 in most categories against right-handed pitching this season. And the past week, they have a 340 WOBA against righties. But all year, they have a 331 WOBA, which is, I think, 6th. But most other categories are about top 5 against right-handed pitching. So I think, in that first 5, they're definitely going to give Logan Webb enough run support here. Webb having a strong year, 2.75 ERA this year. When at home in his career in San Fran, 2.84 ERA. And this year, he's got a 1.65 earned run average in 5 home starts. And the Orioles, I mentioned, this is their first West Coast trip, which is, I think, a factor here for a team from Baltimore. They've had other road trips, obviously, this year, but this is their first time going to that West Coast. So I think that could be a factor in the series opener. And also just, this season against righties, they're just about a league average team. And over the past week or so, too. So I just think this is going to be a matchup where Logan Webb does his thing, anchors the Giants here, and the Giants give him plenty of run support against Dean Kramer, who I think is due for another bad outing or two coming up.
I've got a great prop for that game. I won't spoil it right now. I'm not going to give it away. Well, I'm ready to talk hockey, and we'll do that. But we'll get back. Remind me before we sign off on the show today that I've got a great prop for that Giants O's game.
I will remind you, that's a late night start, so we'll definitely touch more on that coming up. Yeah, let's bring in some hockey talk here. We got Chris Morais and Andrew Dewhirst ready to go here. Yeah, they are. The round table, the Fantasy Alarm Hockey Round Table is here. How you guys doing, man? Ready for some Stanley Cup finals starting up tomorrow?
I am excited. Yes, I'm happy hockey is gives some meaning to my life again.
Aww.
Yeah, there was such a long layoff there, but we're back.
Now, how do you guys?
I'm excited.
How do you guys feel about this is another all U.S. Stanley Cup here? Toronto garbage. What happened to Edmonton with Draisaitl and McDavid? Like I don't know. I feel like the U.S. is stealing Canada's national pastime.
And has been for since 1993, right? Like it's been a while.
Now, to Canada's defense, though, both teams have over 10 Canadian-born players, so technically, both teams are like Canadian by association. So,
and most of the league, it seems like at this point. So you guys got that. So this series, we got game 1 starting tomorrow. Very even according to Vegas odds here. We got the Vegas Golden Knights is minus 125 for the whole series, and Florida Panthers just small favorites there. We were previewing this series, me and Howard, before we went live with you guys, but you could see the full series prices if you want to bet Florida in 6 or Vegas in 7. And those odds are pretty, Vegas in 6 and Florida in 6 are pretty even. So Where do you guys see this series going? I'll let you go first, Andrew. Kind of your big factors for this series. We could talk more about game one specifically, but just this series overall, what are your big factors here for betting it?
The biggest factor, and I think we'll know this after one game, is how much rust Florida may or may not have. I mean, in some ways, I think Florida benefited from having a week off because Montour and Forsling were both playing 27 minutes a game, which is a lot of minutes for anybody. But I mean, so much hinges on, like, are we going to continue to see vintage Sergei Bobrovsky, or are we going to see like Sergei Bobrovsky of the last 2 years? If we see, like, if Vegas scores three a game, they probably win. Right? So, like, if I was putting money down and I was hoping to hit the lottery, I'd bet Vegas in 4 or 5, because I think if Bob goes back into his hermit shell, it could be done really quickly. With that said, I mean, it's really hard to bet that way, right? Unless you're just, have all the money in the world and you're willing to go down that rabbit hole. So, I mean, otherwise it's a pretty even series. Like, even if Bobrovsky's average, like, Aiden Hill isn't exactly vintage Patrick Waugh. So,
what about you, Chris? Where are you leaning for this?
I'm not too worried about the rest. I know a lot of people try to put that on and teams coming out rusty and everything. If there's one thing, and this is true for every sport, right? Especially at this time of year, rest is critical for players to heal from their bumps and bruises and all the things that they're dealing with, right? We hear about players at the end of a series, how they're dealing with, broken ribs and missing cartilage and punctured lungs. And that's all Patrice Bergeron, right? So giving players the opportunity to kind of rest and get that, they can prepare for their next series. They can kind of just, they feel a little bit refreshed. If anything, I think this helps Florida. I don't, that rest is going to be crucial to them. I don't think it's going to take them like a game and a half to get back in the swing. Not at this point. And I mean, Florida's been through so much to get here. I can't imagine a week and a half off being the thing that throws this team off. If anything, it would have been the President's Trophy winner, the Boston Bruins, or, the Toronto Maple Leafs offense or something like that. And we just haven't seen it. So I think Florida's in a great spot here. I think on paper, they have the most dynamic player, which is Matthew Tkachuk, right? Everybody kind of tries to find a way to slow him down. Even when he's not scoring goals, he's finding a way to contribute. You hear teams telling the media and everything, don't get into his game, play between the whistles, don't, let him do what he does. So I'm not worried about it. I think Florida could actually, cause an upset in this series since they are the slight underdogs. I have them winning the series in 6. Probably 5 would be better if you want to lay a little bit of spice there. The longer the series goes on, the better it is for Vegas. Vegas has gone, they've gone deep into series, and Florida has not, with the exception of, Boston. After that, they've kind of wrapped things up pretty quick. So yeah, I think Florida can do a lot. I actually went for picks wise, I went with Florida on the alternate line minus 1.5. Since I'm really looking, if they're gonna win, I'm just betting on the empty net goal at that point, watching the whole game just to root for the empty netter at the end. If they're gonna lose, they're gonna lose, right? So I might as well go with the home run swing here and try to cash it.
Well, so my thing, and I totally get what you both are saying as far as the rest goes, and it's gonna help the players themselves. It's gonna help the forwards. It's gonna help the defensemen. Having that kind of a layoff, I'm not worried about them. Bobrovsky's the one who I'm worried about. And I listen. I that's my biggest concern is that with the way he was playing beautifully, really was. I mean, like we've seen it before. You ride a hot goalie from the first game to the Stanley Cup championship. And we've seen that. But we also haven't seen it with such a significant layover here that I just worry that it's going to kill his momentum, and that we don't see the Bobrovsky that we've seen here in the playoffs, that we've seen, we see the other one, the other guy. I mean, I'm not saying Freddie Anderson type play, but, nevertheless, I still think that, that's my biggest concern. It's kind of why I'm leaning Vegas overall. for that. But you know what? One of our guys, at BSN already said that for tonight's action, though, he's definitely in on the Panthers. Are you guys in on the Panthers for game one?
Tomorrow night, by the way, Howard.
Tomorrow. I don't know what day it is. I'm sorry. Tomorrow, Saturday. Again, another day off for Bobrovsky.
No, I'm not. Again, I'm just not worried about Bob. Like, I feel like he's had multiple opportunities to let us down, and he hasn't. If anything, again, I think the rest might do him some good. I'm 32 and I need all the rest I can get, and I am nowhere close to being an athlete. So the rest for Bobrovsky, goalies, their knees and everything, it can only help. I think that's one of those things that we look at for certain teams that are maybe not as well disciplined, well coached, maybe, right? Getting ready for that moment. Like, these teams are here. There's nothing left after this. They know how to win. They've done it. They've had opportunities to rest before. Now it's a question of just getting the job done. Like, if Bobrovsky fails, he fails, but that's because Vegas found a way to, score goals. But I'm not worried about the rest being the factor. That's not what's going to change. Or again, you're going into a hostile environment. If you're Florida, you're trying to at least win one game on the road. That's all you're needed to do. And we saw them do, much better than that. They went into Carolina and won 2 in pretty dramatic fashion, where Matthew Tkachuk couldn't wait to get out of Carolina. So I'm not putting it on the rest. I think that Bobrovsky's going to be just fine. If he's going to let me down, he's going to do it in other ways, but it's not because he had 10 days off to rest his aging body.
Andrew, I got to let you follow up, because I saw you, I think it's been a couple times already. You might have been rolling your eyes at Chris saying Matthew Tkachuk might be the most dynamic player in this series. I'll give you rebuttal time and kind of relate it to the Conn Smythe odds there that we had up on the screen. If you're thinking back in Vegas here, is there a different player in your mind here that could be a big difference maker?
I mean, I think there's certainly a case to be made for Jack Eichel as the more dynamic player, especially for the Conn Smythe odds. Matthew Tkachuk, though, is absolutely the most complete player. He is probably there's not a player that anyone wants to play less against than Matthew Tkachuk. And that's what Chris was talking about with between the whistles and, don't get into it and don't, avoid the stupid penalties and letting him get into your head and all that stuff. So, I mean, Jack Eichel has been what people were looking for him to be 6 years ago, right? Like, it's what Buffalo thought they were getting when they drafted him first overall. That's what Vegas gave up a massive haul 2 years ago to get, right? Like, this guy with a broken neck, like, hey, I think he's still the real deal. And he's been that all playoff long. He's been their best player most of the time. I mean, Jonathan Marchessault's played great. He's been on a nice goal scoring streak. He's a nice dark horse if you're looking to like find some better odds on the Conn Smythe. But I mean, Eichel stirs the drink. And I wouldn't also completely discount, and his odds aren't even up here, somebody like Alex Pietrangelo. So he's captained a Stanley Cup winner before. He's got the experience that you're looking for. Florida doesn't really have that player. Like, he's got, I mean, Eric Stahl, but I'm pretty sure like Chris was still in diapers when he won his Stanley Cup.
No, not completely in diapers, but I remember that series very well, because that's the one where Saku ended up getting hurt. He got the stick to the eye. Cam Ward came in, stopped everything. The rest is history. Thank you for bringing up old wounds.
I think me and Howard are just going to step off and let you guys finish this fight off by yourselves.
No. This is great. Let's get him talking about who makes better syrup in Canada also. That's a great fight between these two as well, right? I mean, that's just – Dewhirst sent me some syrup, so I've got Toronto's finest. I don't know. I haven't gotten anything from Chris here, so we won't talk about that. Let me ask you guys a question here, because we talk about the Conn Smythe Trophy and who does it. We see this in, like, for example, baseball all the time. We even see it in football. In football, it's like unless a running back or a wide receiver has like this banana cakes kind of a day, a quarterback is getting that Super Bowl MVP. Unless we see, a pitcher just so ridiculously dominant, we end up getting whoever the best hitter was for like World Series MVP. Do we see trends like that in hockey as well? Does it go to the top player name like Tkachuk? Or does it would it just automatically go to the goalie? Is there history to follow all of this?
I think you
don't roll your eyes at me, but
a little bit, yes, right. Usually goalies will get it right. It's not a secret that you need a goalie, right, to be successful in hockey, right? That's just kind of the way that it's made up. Your captain as well is going to usually lead the way for your team. Those are things that are true, right? When we look at the Colorado Avalanche, they didn't necessarily have the goaltending, but they obviously had the player who can do it, right? Nathan McKinnon was absolutely incredible in what he was doing. So sure, I think for me, right, the Conn Smythe to me is the most important player to your team in the playoffs. And I was talking about it yesterday, regardless of whether Florida wins or loses, I think Matthew Tkachuk could win it, even if he's on the losing side. We haven't seen that in a long time, but he is the engine that drives that team. Even with like Bobrovsky can't score goals. That's the only thing he can't do. And Matthew Tkachuk at that Toronto series didn't score a single goal, but he was instrumental in getting things, done. And we've seen him then go into Carolina, and he scored the 2 big overtime goals. He scored 4 goals in that series. We know how key the last one that he scored was. So he is the player who drives it for his team. I'm not going to take anything away from Jack Eichel and Jonathan Marchessault and all those guys, because yes, they are, very much deserving to win them if they do. But I mean, unless Eichel goes crazy, unless Marchessault goes crazy, I expect Tkachuk to be just as good. But I think Tkachuk can win it no matter what happens here. Unless, again, he has a terrible series and everything falls apart, which I don't see happening.
Do we know the last time that happened, that a player on the losing side
Jean-Sébastien Giguère against the New Jersey Devils when they won their cup. Okay. 203, I think. That was the last time.
Yeah.
That was the last time. That was the only one I was alive for. All the other ones happened before.
That might just be because nobody wants to give an award to anybody from New Jersey. So that could be. Our producer, Adam Bernard, throwing it here into the chat. Since 2000, 6 goalies, 9 big-time, level names, Ovechkin, Crosby, that type of thing. And then 5 kind of mishmash in there, i.e. Giguère.
Yeah, and I mean, I think from a national viewership audience perspective, there are no big names here. Like, no one's walking. If you didn't know anything about hockey, you never heard of any of these players before you start watching that game tomorrow. Probably not Eichel, probably not Tkachuk, both Americans for what that's worth. I think Bobrovsky has as good a chance as anybody as being, even if Florida loses, to be the next J.S. Giguère, and I'm pretty sure the 87 one was Patrick Waugh. So, I mean, from a viewership perspective, like, this is probably like worst case scenario for the NHL, worst case scenario for the Final Four for the NHL. Like, no one in big markets is going to care, and that's probably pretty standard.
Going back to earlier, we were talking about how many games the series could go, whether you're back in Vegas or you're back in Florida. Do you guys both think that this is a series that could go, 6-7 games? Because I'm looking at, you can bet on, on DraftKings right now, it's plus 205 for just the series to go 6 games. You get plus 200 at 7 games. 5 games is at plus 275. But any of those at plus money is pretty interesting, because if you guys think it could go 6 either way, then that could be an interesting bet, right?
6 is kind of like the maximum. I think the longer this series goes, the worse it is for Florida. So I think they could, if I was laying just some extra money that I had, it would be Florida in 5. That to me is where I can get the most value out of it. I can see them going into Vegas and winning a couple of games. They've won games on the road. They've proven they can be a team that can play very well on the road. They may get dominated for long periods of time, but they kind of bend and don't break, right? They stick around. They wait for their opportunities. When they get it, they score goals. Again, if this series goes longer, then it'll favor Vegas, and the only thing that can really slow them down, right, their special teams is not really that great, right? Their penalty kill is really not good. In their defense, they had to play Edmonton, so nobody's penalty kill was good. But those special teams will end up hurting them at some point, right? You want to make teams pay when they take penalties. We saw Vegas be extremely disciplined in their series against Dallas, right? Dallas, that was kind of their Achilles heels a little bit there, with Jamie Benn's stick falling on Mark Stone's face, and then just the rest of how that team just couldn't generate any offense. So I think 6 is where, like, logically it should go. I also thought logically Carolina could win in 7, and that didn't happen. So 5-6 is about where I think this ends.
So what's your dream Stanley Cup now? Like, is it Florida in 5? Is it a Vegas game 7 overtime crazy win there? Like, as far as this one goes, because listen, we'll be able to like talk betting each individual game and stuff like that, and can only say how much we what we're gonna bet for the series. But what would you like to see? What do you think hockey needs to have for this Stanley Cup? Because let's face it, these are not marquee teams. These are not major media markets, so they need some real sizzle in these Stanley Cup finals in order to kind of help bring it out a little bit more than it's just like, oh, did somebody win the Stanley Cup? Oh, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
So I'll start with Dewhirst. Ideal series here.
If I'm the NHL, the ideal series here is 7 games where 12 goals total are scored each game.
In each game.
Yeah. If you want to get people's attention and you want people to watch these games and have fun watching these games, like the anti-Florida Carolina series is what you need. 2-1 games don't excite people. 1-0 games don't excite people. No one realistically, we're all sports fans. Do you really love watching quadruple overtime 1-0 games?
In hockey, yeah, I do.
When you hit overtime, but that's a long time waiting for your payoff. Like,
don't care.
I don't think the average viewer is going like, all right, it's 3:00 in the morning Eastern time. Are they done yet? Can you guys get this thing over with?
So I might be in that crowd. Whether I'm going to win or lose, if it's like 3 a.m. and I'm still watching, I'm just going, let me just get a loss. Let me go to bed.
You're sitting there with either team on the money line going like, oh my God, like my heart doesn't even. I probably just shaved off about 13% of my life.
Exactly.
But that's what the NHL needs. They need a lot of scoring, and it's probably not happening, right? Like, I think we do well to see 6 goals. Like, I should look to see what the actual like over-unders set at.
5.5.
5.5. Standard par for the course here.
So, I mean, we would have bet this at a 7 if it was regular season. Playoffs come, I would probably bet the under 5.5 tonight, like without too much trouble.
Okay, so the under. What about you, Chris? Your ideal series for this? These two teams duking it out. You can't say 7 games, 12 goals a game because that's already been taken.
I wasn't going to go there, so that's okay. First of all, a lot of disrespect to the people in Las Vegas right now, calling them a small market when they're one of the most recent expansion teams, and from having been to the fortress, as they like to call it.
See, he just tried to disagree with the host of the show.
Apparently, Chris isn't up to speed on what the difference is between media market and attendance.
Right, it's Canadian internet right now. It's his Canadian internet.
Wait, the Beaver's got to get on the treadmill to get it moving.
Well, Andrew, it looks like you're going to have the last word on this series here. Looking ahead to tomorrow, because we heard Chris say he might favor Florida for tomorrow's game 1. You mentioned maybe the total there at 5.5, but we got Vegas at, it's about even, but it's minus 130 favorites for Vegas here in game 1, and then Florida's plus 110 on the money line. Are you looking either way there, or looking at that total as one of your top picks?
My gut tells me Florida, but my brain tells me Vegas at home is the best, is the smartest way to look at it. I mean, I can make the case that Vegas is the worst team that Florida's played in these playoffs. They beat the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference, who all had more points in the regular season than Vegas did. But at the same time, it's the playoffs, and you throw that stuff out the window because it doesn't matter. So I think it should be a close series. I would be. I mean, I can see almost every possible outcome, and I think that's what's makes this so difficult. And like, Florida's really been a unicorn here. Like 6-0 in overtime. That's really hard to do. That requires some amount of luck, whether Florida fans or anyone else would like to admit it or not, right? Like, sometimes what goes up has to come down, and if you're the Panthers, you hope it's not right now. But statistically speaking, they could just be due to lose some 1-0 games, some 2-1 games, a couple games in overtime, and suddenly everything's very different. So I would probably realistically be betting Vegas in game 1.
All right.
Okay. Well, you can definitely catch Andrew's extended thoughts on these individual games for these DFS playbooks we got coming up for tomorrow's game, for this whole series. Him and Chris have been doing an awesome job this whole season, tag team in our NHL coverage at Fantasy Alarm. So, Andrew, I don't know if you have tomorrow's playbook or one later, but we'll definitely be looking out for your next written work over at Fantasy Alarm soon.
Very, very good. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. Yeah, you can follow him on Twitter, as you saw there on the screen, at Andrew K. Dewhirst for even more picks. You wanna go shout him out. And Chris, you can follow at Fuzzy Chris 91, and he's on the Bettor Hockey Now show that you can watch on the Bettor Sports Network YouTube page. Go watch that now. Just on demand right now. It's him, our producer Adam Bernard. And let's bring Adam in here real quick just to get his thoughts on the series before we move on to some more baseball. Adam, are you on the same page as the guys saying like Florida could make this interesting? That's kind of the gut pick, but Vegas at home tomorrow night is maybe the smarter pick?
For tomorrow, I mean, I thought about Vegas at home in game 1 and everything that Andrew said. I think if Florida is really going to have a chance in this series, then they got to come out and they got to take game 1 on the road. That being said, for the series, I lean more towards Andrew's analysis that, Florida's had a lot of things go their way, and that has to balance out at some time. And to me, the path that Vegas took to the Stanley Cup Finals was a little more consistent. They were they won their division. They, once Colorado was knocked out, they really were the number 1 seed. They took care of a Winnipeg Jets team in 5. Edmonton gave them a couple of fits early in the series, but then they, pulled ahead and won in 6. Other than Dallas fighting for their lives in 2 games, Vegas was the better team in that series. It's been more of a steady, traditional path. That's why I lean Vegas in 6.
All right. There we go. And he's on the Bettor Hockey Now video as well with Anthony Rivera as well and Chris Morais. So go check that out for more hockey talk. Let's get back to baseball here. Another full slate tonight, as we mentioned. We gave out our best bets earlier today. Let's get to some more picks now. Howard, give us another one here for tonight.
I don't wanna. Why do I gotta?
I'll go if you don't want.
No, I'll do it. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll pay off the tease, as they say in the industry.
Pay it off.
All right, here we go. How about Lamonte Wade over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBI? And that is minus 125 on the DK Sportsbook. I mean, I actually, Lamonte Wade, what I love about this bet also is that Lamonte Wade leads off for the Giants. Now, going up against Dean Creamer, who does have some trouble with left-handed hitters. So Wade, 899 OPS, 399 weighted on base average against right-handed pitching. And hitting out of that leadoff spot, he gets that extra at bat at the towards the tail end of that game if it's necessary. And so I feel like Wade is the type of player and hits in a spot in the order that you're looking for. He's not sink or swim. You're not looking at him being like, oh, well, he's like Adolis Garcia. I was thinking about Michael Conforto, but like Conforto's a low average guy usually, and so, I didn't want to take the shot with him, but at least with Wade, I know that leading off, for him to get, a hit, possibly two, or a hit and a run scored, I mean, that's almost no-brainer money in my world.
I like that, and that's going to help me get the money line for the Giants and the run line in the first 5 innings for the Giants. If he has a big night at the plate, I'll be happy with that. I'll go with another player prop here that I like. And Howard, is Freddie Freeman playing tonight? Is he playing?
I don't know. Let me take a look at the
Dodgers
lineups.
are on the schedule, right? So he's going to be playing, right?
Oh, it doesn't matter what his matchup is. You're just like, playing him.
Freddie Freeman hits, runs, RBIs. This bet has been cashing almost every day. Literally, I mean, so he's got a 20-game hit streak right now, 36-game on base streak. He's been over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 6 straight and 19 of the last 20 games. I am just going to blindly bet this every day. But tonight, I mean, he's got a righty on the mound, Luis Severino, which, not a bad pitcher by any means, but
I was gonna say, watch your tone when you're speaking of my Yankees.
Well, Freeman hitting 368 against righties this year, and he's at home where he's got better splits. He's hitting 483 over the last 7 games. The dude is just absolutely on fire. He's got multi-hit games in 5 of the past 6 games and 14 of the past 20. Everything's just pointing to the guy staying hot. Severino can have a good night at the plate, but the hits, runs, RBI prop is just too good. Minus 155 on DraftKings. I'm fine paying that because of how good he's been and how hot he is right now.
I love the hits, runs, RBI prop. I love it. I wish more sites would offer that. Like DK does it.
Yeah.
And that's great. But I definitely wish that we could see, more people do it. I've got another one there also. Hits, RBI, runs scored. Royce Lewis, who has started off, since he returned from injury, has been fantastic at the plate. He's been rock solid. 1.5 hits, runs, RBI total, minus 110 on DK, and he's going up against Aaron Savali. So the Guardians put Cal Quantrill on IL. And they brought up Aaron Savali. Now, usually I kind of like Savali. I don't mind the pitcher from an overall standpoint, but he needs a series of starts before he kind of gets warmed up. And we've seen this with him, in the past. Is like, first 2 starts in the bigs each season, it's like, ooh, and then all of a sudden he'll start to like warm up a little bit. So here for his first game in the call-up, going up against the Twins, I know the Twins have not been raking all that much, but I love me some Royce Lewis. I think this is going to be a really nice. And you know what? If you're playing DFS also, Royce Lewis and Alex Kirilloff are right there in the lineup together always.
Ooh.
That's such a great mini stack. Such a great mini stack, especially tonight.
Love that. And go check out the MLB DFS playbook that's live right now by Justin Friedland. He's got tonight's playbook. And then the value plays article, Henry Wilson has that one. So if you're building DFS lineups, and coming up right after us, as they do mostly every day, John and Pemba and James Grande giving you guys the MLB DFS live show from 5 to 6 Eastern here on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm YouTube, wherever you're watching. They'll help you guys build some lineups as Howard and I are giving you some winners. So Royce Lewis might be in both of those and helping you cash in multiple ways tonight. So I like that one. I'm going to go with the Angels team total over 3.5 minus 115 on DraftKings. This is a play I was ready to fire yesterday when I thought Framber Valdez was on the mound, and then he got a late push to tonight, and they called up someone else for that one. But I'm going back to the Angels team total over because of this match against Valdez. He's a guy that just has some glaring numbers that are pointing to regression. And this is I've been going to regression candidates for pitchers and targeting team totals, targeting money lines throughout this show, dating back a couple weeks now. And Framber Valdez is a guy I've yet to touch, but I'm just kind of waiting for the matchup. And the Angels are here So as for the Angels, they're hitting lefties 347 WOBA this year, 120 WRC plus. They're top 10, top 5 offense against left-handed pitchers this year. And over the past 2 weeks, 403 WOBA and a 160 WRC plus against lefties. And as for Valdez, I mentioned, so 402 expected ERA. That's compared to his 238 ERA this year. That's a big differential for me. And when you look at some of these advanced numbers, he's got a career worst barrel rate this year, a high 46% hard hit rate, career worst in expected batting average and expected slugging. He's got a high average exit velocity. That's one of the worst among MLB starters this year. And this matchup against the Angels is a tough one, even though it's at home and the Angels just scored 2 runs last night. I think they're primed to bounce back a little bit here, get over that 3.5 team total.
What I like about this one also is that so Framber Valdez had his start pushed back, a day, and the question is why? Like, they weren't just doing it for funsies. So there's obviously something going on with Framber Valdez that they felt that he needed that extra time off. So
I thought that too, but just to kind of go devil's advocate, which is, against my play, obviously. But I also thought maybe they wanted to match up with Ohtani tonight because Ohtani's pitching for the Angels. Is that something that they would actually push him back a day for? And then, but yeah, who knows? Maybe he was a little overworked and maybe they wanted an extra day of rest.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that, they used that kid yesterday and, so it made it a 6-man rotation, at least for this turn. Around. I mean, listen, I hope Framber Valdez, for the sake of my fantasy teams out there, I hope Framber Valdez is completely fine and and he plays well. But I like your over the team total for the Angels just because I am concerned. Like you don't take your ace and just push him back. I'm not going to say that it was a guaranteed win with him on the mound yesterday, but you want to take your wins. You don't worry about that Ohtani versus Valdez matchup here in June. That's something that you worry about in September, October. So, I like this bet just for the fact that I'm definitely nervous about the health of Valdez. And listen, if this dude only goes, think about it, man, 4 2/3 innings, 5 1/3 inning, then you got to eat into that bullpen against Trout and Ohtani, and that's not something you want to do.
Interesting. Yeah, I was just pulling up his outs prop because actually yesterday on the show, James Grande was ready to fire on his outs prop over actually, but then he got pushed to tonight. So I doubt he's kind of still on the play there. We'll see what he says on the MLB DFS show if he's willing to play Valdez and DFS tonight. His outs, it's actually not. I'm not seeing it on DraftKings. I don't know if you see it anywhere else, but his outs. Pitcher props aren't on the board right now for the Angels Astros game I'm seeing, but keep that in mind if you wanted to fade Valdez in other ways here. And by the way, I was tempted to go with the Angels money line and on the run line and all that, but I'm just sticking to their team total here because Ohtani doesn't have great numbers against the Astros and in Houston. If you look back at his career with the Angels. So that has me just a little worried, and the Angels offense obviously is dangerous, or the Astros offense. So I'm just kind of sticking to the Angels team total here. But you could even sprinkle on the money line. It's possible they go in with Ohtani and get the win here.
Yeah, I like it. Other bets that I do like for tonight, just so we know. I like the Mariners Rangers, the under. It's John Gray versus Luis Castillo. I think the Rangers are the more potent lineup, obviously, but to deal with Luis Castillo could be a little bit more difficult. I'm a little worried about doing it as the full game bet just because it's, Texas's bullpen has been miserable to me. But I'm going to take that shot that Luis Castillo goes 6 2/3, 7 innings and minimizes the damage on that front. I like that one. And then because you were talking about it earlier, whether or not you take a first 5 money line or a first 5 run line.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to take the Rockies first 5 innings on the money line here because I'm getting it at plus 100, but it's Colorado, Kansas City. Neither one of these teams is even remotely potent. as far as offense goes. So I look at it and say, does Jordan Lyles suck more than Chase Anderson? He does suck more than Chase Anderson. So I will take the Rockies' first 5 innings on the money line against Kansas City, plus 100 on Caesars.
I love what a bet just includes a statement from you about, no stats involved, but saying, does this pitcher suck more than this guy? Yes. So
do you need me to break down how bad Jordan Lyles is?
I don't need you to. It's fine. Break it down. I'm going with another pitcher prop here for tonight. I like Merrill Kelly over his 5.5 strikeouts. This is a play I broke down for the MLB Underdog article up on Fantasy Alarm, and that one's for free. So go check that out for more expanded thoughts, but just some cliff notes here of why I like Kelly's over, and it's plus money on DraftKings over 5.5. He's been over 5.5 in 4 of his last 5 outings, 9 with 9 or more strikeouts in 3 of those, with 10 in multiple outings here, and 6 or more strikeouts in 6 of his last 9 starts too. So he's trending up right now. He's been hot. I like him at home here where he's got better splits. The Braves is kind of a middle of the pack offense, but this is an offense where earlier this week, we saw them let you down against the A's. It's just kind of an offense. It's been a little hit or miss. No pun intended there, of just being like, you never know what you're going to get from them, whether they're going to be lighting it up for 10 runs or struggling to even push across 2 in a full game. So I like Kelly. Even if they score a few runs on him, Kelly can get his strikeouts here. And the Braves are an offense that's just middle of the pack strikeout rate in terms of the whole season against righties and over the last 2 weeks. So Kelly, with the run he's on, I like him to go over 5.5 strikeouts.
I like it. I mean, listen, the Braves are not a huge strikeout team, but then again, the Braves of what we've seen now over the last 2 weeks has been a much, much different situation. So
yeah,
I can dig it, man. I can dig it.
All right, let's get to our home run calls, our daily dingers for tonight. Who are you backing to go deep?
I mean, is there a bigger no-brainer here than Jorge Soler? I mean, let me since you don't want sucks at baseball as my
give me some hard stats here to back up.
I'll give you some hard stats. All right, so like I said, Hogan's Heroes is going to be on the mound as the bulk pitcher for Oakland. Fujiyuki is going to be the opener, but Hogan's Heroes is a lefty, and Jorge Soler against left-handed pitching this year has a 551 weighted on base average with a 1.370 OPS. So yum, give me some. Jorge Soler mashes left-handed pitching. So maybe, I mean, he might not even face Fujinami in the first inning, but he will certainly get the hoagie in the later innings. So plus 310 on DK Sportsbook for a guy who mashes left-handed pitching. Yes, please.
I like that. I'm going with so the image you see here is slightly wrong. I apologize to our producer Adam here for calling you out a little bit, but Giancarlo Stanton is the name I'm going with here at plus 400 on FanDuel. Aaron Judge, I easily could go there too, but I like Stanton returning from the IL tonight, facing Kershaw, which Kershaw's always good at home and definitely tough, but it's that righty lefty matchup that Stanton can have success in. Got some power in that split. He had 4 homers earlier this year in 13 games before being out for the past month and a half. But I mentioned returning from the IL, I think he's going to have some extra energy to go deep. And in his career off Kershaw, hitting 278 with 2 homers. So some track record there. And in Dodger Stadium, this game is in LA for the Yankees, 9 homers in 23 career games at Dodger Stadium. So some trends there to back up Stanton, just, and just kind of riding that momentum of him just coming back from the IL, maybe feeling it a little bit. Him and Donaldson back for the Yankees could give that offense just a little bit more power boost here, even on the road against the Dodgers.
Listen, I will never argue or.
I was waiting for some dissent here against your own Yankees player. But.
Why? I was like, man, why not? Can I parlay? What happens if I parlay Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hitting home runs off of Clayton Kershaw tonight?
Well, yeah, I'll take credit for Judge going deep too, because he's plus 275 on. A quick fix from Adam Bernard. Love it here. That's the correct graphic there, but plus 275 for Aaron Judge to go deep. I mean, he's just one of those guys. We've talked about that before. Like, why wouldn't you always bet on him to go deep? Because he could hit a homer in any game. So
I love it. I got no arguments whatsoever with you. If you're going to promote, the Yankees hitting home runs, I can do that. Oh, you know what? I'll even throw one your way here. I don't even know what the odds are right now, but how about Bryce Harper hitting a home run tonight off of Josiah Gray in his return to Washington? I mean, he's been back to Washington before, but I'm just, we always like that revenge game narrative.
Yeah, I looked at him and Schwarber just being back in Washington, but I had fear of you calling me a homer, so I did not pick them for this segment. With that, we are going to get out of here and make way for John and Pemba and James Grande talking some MLB DFS. That's the Quick Pitch MLB DFS live show coming up at 5 o'clock Eastern. They're giving you some winning plays there. And then at 7 o'clock Eastern tonight, Campus to Canton, guys. College football talk, which is what I love. They're talking about a bunch of stuff, top QB prospects for next year. Will JJ McCarthy, could he be better than Will Levis? That's an interesting topic there. I like that. Yeah. So definitely stay tuned for all those shows tonight on your Friday night as you're watching your MLB bets cash that Howard and I just gave you. Howard, it's always good. We'll be back on Monday and all next week at 4 o'clock Eastern. But Howard and me back on Monday to give you guys some winners on Monday. Howard, awesome as always.
Thanks for having me, Servo. Always a pleasure to get to hang out with you.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you.